You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It is your host, Brian Fullerton, here hanging with you guys. Actually, in studio, we have the man, the myth, the legend, mentor, protege, a little bit of everything in between, Michael Bedell.
What's going on, guys?
How we doing?
I'm great, buddy. How are you?
I'm just trying to figure out how to make it as awkward as possible when I introduce you now, because you're like a teacher to me, but you're also a student to others, and you're like this guru, but also this elusive creature out there that doesn't put out enough content.
Well, it's been a busy year, man. I've been trying to be very intentional with my time, and you'll see a lot more from me soon over the next couple months.
Wow. I like it, man.
Yeah.
Well, we're actually in studio. Bedell's over at my house. It's about 9 o'clock at night, which is good. We're just kind of hanging out. Liz is upstairs. She's doing a book club, Facebook Live with a little following that she has, which is kind of cool. And she goes, "Where are you guys going to be doing your podcast?" I said, "In the basement, in the garage, in studio." She goes, "Cool. Well, don't come up until 10:30. So I said, "Well, we got about an hour and 45 minutes to burn." You know what I'm saying?
Sounds good to me.
I don't know if the podcast will be that long, but we want to talk to you guys about snow, getting started, plowing snow, talk about some of the basics. I kind of want to go into my story a little bit about how I got started with snow.
Sure.
Because you played a pivotal role. Dude, it's late. You know what I'm saying?
It's been a long day.
It's been a long 2 days, man. It feels like it's Monday number 2. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
But without you coaching and teaching me how to get started plowing snow, I don't think I'd have as successful of a run that I've had so far. I feel like I owe a lot of attaboys and thank yous and appreciation to you.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
You put in all the hard work, though.
Well, I mean, somebody's got to go drive the truck.
Yep.
But no, knowing how to drive the truck and what to do, it was so scary.
Yeah, well, we broke into the X and O's of it before you had to even worry. You didn't even know what the X's and O's were. You thought it was guy in a truck and you move snow, and there's probably some money at the end, right?
There is a method to the madness.
Exactly.
So, well, let's do this. Before we go into it, we're going to talk about basics. We're going to talk about ways to approach it. We're going to try to keep it light and fun. Maybe just tell some stories on this episode. We're going to start doing a couple more podcasts on snow. We're going to get guys like Corey Ballard on.
Nice.
Huge commercial outfit.
Yes.
We're going to be getting Troy Clogg on.
My buddy Troy.
Troy he's a great guy. By the time this podcast comes out, Troy's might even be out before or right after or right there in the lineup. Troy, he's like 400 trucks or plus subcontractors.
Troy is a big operation, and he's, man, a well-oiled machine. He's done this for a long time, and he has it figured out to a science, and he keeps taking it up a notch every single year. He's definitely a really good friend and mentor of mine. So if that's out or it comes out, make sure you guys take the time to listen to it. He is a wealth of knowledge, and truthfully, he's one of the people that has instilled a lot of the stuff you hear me say.
Yep.
That's where some of this comes from.
And now it's you've poured that into me.
Yep.
And so I owe a big thank you, like you were just saying, to Troy.
Absolutely.
I was supposed to interview him today at the time of this recording, but it got bumped to a following week from now. But I will definitely relay the message that you said, hey.
Absolutely. Please do, man.
Troy's like that father figure in the industry to a lot of people.
Yeah, he cares. He's at the point where I think, like he said on Paul's podcast, he's like the keeper of like the karma, or however he put it, around his shop. He makes sure that at this point, like, people are running the operations, but he's got to make sure that, like, the attitude and the mindset and there's a good why for everyone to be there besides just money.
Right.
And so Troy at this point, like, he's got people that their job is to figure out how to sell things and get the work done, and he's trying to make sure that everyone's living their best life while they're doing it and transforming their life. And his attitude, like we've talked about before, is, rising tide raises all ships, and that's Troy right there.
Well, I want to take what you just said and then apply that to snow.
Absolutely, and that's what he does in the snow business.
He's the GOAT with snow. So we're gonna try to sprinkle these episodes in for you guys. I don't want to do 10 back to back snow episodes. It's still August. A lot of us are still mowing. Still some practical things we can learn as we go into fall. We're not gonna just gloss over fall and leaf cleanups because there's a lot of money in that too.
Absolutely, but a lot of people are probably at the point where you were a few years ago, where they're realizing okay, if I'm really gonna do this snow thing, I can't just wake up in December and make it happen. I gotta start thinking about equipment and getting clients and pricing things, or what are actually my costs, and maybe start finding a mentor or listening to this podcast where you've got a couple of them.
Well, great point. So we right now we're shooting this in the end of August or mid-August of 2020. But you're totally right. If you're going to be doing snow, you got to start making decisions now.
Yes.
Equipment, gearing up for salt. You got to get supplies. There's a lot of things to get your ducks in a row. So, snow plowing is not something that you decide, like you said. Great point. You don't decide 2 weeks out, I'm going to go do snow. That's not how you get the contracts. That's not how you get the work. There's a lot of things that go into it. So, let's do this. Let's take a quick second here. We're going to hear from today's show sponsors, which is the Lawntrepreneur Academy. We've got some great, amazing resources actually available for you guys for snow plowing. And then we also got another great resource from Mike himself with the Debt-Free Landscaper.
For those of you guys interested in breaking into the snow removal game, this one's for you. Now available exclusively at the LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com. We've got you covered with the How to Get Started Plowing Snow training program. This powerful resource is there to help you guys learn the basics to plowing snow, what to charge, major pitfalls and mistakes to avoid, and so much more. Hands down, one of the most anticipated and helpful training programs we have available. We'll get you up to speed on how to crush it with your snow removal business in no time. Check out the training program today at LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com, because before you know it, we'll be out there plowing that snow and making that dough. Are you ready to make some serious money this winter with snow and ice management services? Are you looking to position yourself as an industry professional and to protect your bottom line from issues like unstable salt prices? Don't get left out in the cold this winter. Head over to DebtFreeLandscaper.com to check out the highly sought-after commercial and residential snow plowing contracts. These agreements are available for internet download and are easy to edit and make your own. DebtFreeLandscaper.com, the green industry's most professional resource for lawn and landscaping contracts, hiring employees and subcontractors, and where you'll find the same money-making commercial snow contract that numerous contractors like Brian Fullerton have used to dominate the snow and ice management industry. DebtFreeLandscaper.com. Head over to DebtFreeLandscaper.com to get access to these incredible resources today and put yourself in a position to plow through the competition.
Brian's interview with Mike Bedell continues in just a moment. First, I wanted to let you know that Brian has both a blog and a newsletter waiting on you at LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com. Now, in the newsletter, I was just looking through there, and this is cool. You'll find some details on how to save a few bucks on Cujo, yardware, lawn care shoes. Who don't want to save a little money? Check it out. And now, back to the Fullerton Unfiltered studio.
Awesome, guys. Well, good deal. Well, again, that snow training program available at LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com. It's $99. We're going to talk about actually some of those topics right here, right now, while we do the podcast live with Mike, because a lot of the stuff that you taught me, I kind of baked it into those training programs.
Awesome.
But at the same point, there's a lot more stuff that I want to just open up and have a fun conversation with. And by the way, DebtFreeLandscaper.com, if that's new to you guys, Mike, why don't you do a quick plug for Debt-Free Landscaper? I think it's an amazing resource that could really help these guys out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great online community of a bunch of guys and gals who focused on either working towards being debt-free or are debt-free in their business. But besides all that, I decided to help the community out and give everybody access to all the great agreements and back-end forms that Bedell Property Management, my company, has used for over a decade and allows us to position ourselves and make lots of money. And so I wanted to help all you guys out and made those available at a very affordable rate, instant download right online, and you can customize all of those to actually make them your own and applicable for your company. So debtfreelandscaper.com and
Brian's 10.
That's right, buddy.
Brian's 10 saves 10% on his website. I go, Well, so this was actually full circle. We'll just jump into it because it's kind of funny how this parlays. 3 years ago now, I was getting started to do snow. I was really gearing up to go all in.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about equipment. We'll talk about how I got started with it. But one thing I don't want to gloss over is that you have these amazing contracts like you just talked about.
Absolutely.
And when I was getting started, I said, "Hey, Bedell," and you kind of already probably knew what was going to come. But I was like, "Hey, Bedell, like, how do you bid this stuff? Like, how do you actually submit a proposal or contract?"
Right.
Because you guys got to remember in context, I'm the residential lawn care guy. So up until just maybe a year before, I'd never had any large commercial lawn and landscape contracts. So I had drafted my own contract way back. It was a hybrid. It was a huge hodgepodge. And that's actually available to download at launchpreneuracademy.com. But I didn't have any clue how to bid snow. And I didn't have a snow contract. And actually, you threw me a bone, if you remember that way back when.
I do.
And I was like, dude, you're going to give me your contract? You're like, look, dude, I'll take care of you on this one. Let's work together. Let's grow together. And I was like, what? Dude, that's awesome. Like, and I'm sure looking back on it, to you, it was no big deal. But to me, it meant the world.
Yeah. Well,
it was a huge puzzle piece.
I didn't even really think of the value that it had. It was more of like, I'm busy going a million miles an hour. You're busy going a million miles an hour. And it's like, hey, how do I do this? I'm like, let me just send you an email with the form. This is the one I use. You can change it, make it work. Let me know if you have any questions. I got to go. And it was only after you got in the weeds with the agreement, went through it, and we're like, wow, this is really well put together. Like this is way beyond what I was expecting you to email to me. You were like, does everyone have stuff like this? And I didn't even know the answer to that question, but you followed up by saying, well, if they don't, we need to figure out how to get this so that people have this as a resource that's available to them.
Debtfreelandscaper.com. You've got your residential contracts for snow, commercial contracts for snow, a bunch of other great resources there. I know we're doing a little plug here, but for real, I really appreciate what Bedell's bringing to the table with debtfreelandscaper.com. And we can always talk more about that in depth at another time, but I didn't want to gloss over it.
Appreciate that.
As we're talking about snow, and you guys want to learn more, the most common question I get is, hey, what about contracts? I don't have my own snow contracts. Respectfully, I use Bedell's. He's got a great resource there. So go to debtfreelandscaper.com. Brian's 10 saves 10%, which is, a couple bucks off. And by the time you want to get started with snow, you'll have a professional resource and document to submit to these companies, residential or commercial, to be able to plow snow and lock that all down, which is really, really good. That might even be tip or lesson number one. Have contracts.
Yeah, well, we all know that in my personal opinion, I'm a big have a contract guy. It's just how the level that I operate on. But it's well known that that's kind of a very debatable subject when it comes to lawn care, and you get region by region, and it's maybe less common. But what is more common is having a contract when it comes to snow. You might get a company that somebody just needs to mow the grass out front so the city doesn't get mad at this industrial complex. They don't really care who cuts it, but they got to have access to trucking 24/7, and they need a real deal snow plowing operation, and they're probably not going to flag down that same guy who could totally torpedo their entire business if you get a foot of snow.
Great point. Well, let's do this. My story's been pretty well documented because I do, a bunch of YouTube videos. And we'll talk about that as we kind of wiggle this through here, and we just kind of touch on a couple of different topics. But how did you get started plowing snow? What is your startup story with snow? Because we talk about lawn care landscaping all the time.
Sure.
But so you were working, was it as a subcontractor here and there? Is that how you got your feet wet doing snow?
Absolutely. So even actually, I started out as actually a direct employee for it. If you listen back to a previous episode that Brian and I did, I talk about how I'd gotten my first commercial lawnmower from a company, Midwest Landscape, that's actually just a couple miles down the road from where Brian and I are sitting right now.
Yep.
And they when I bought that mower, they said, hey, we're looking for snowplow drivers. And at the time, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not looking to plow snow, so good luck with that. But the idea kind of stuck around there. And maybe this presents an opportunity for the people that are listening midwinter and are going, oh, well, they already said I kind of missed the boat on this. Well, maybe you did for yourself, but people in your area, if they have a large operation, they are always looking for someone to plow with their equipment. equipment.
Sure.
They'd love an experienced driver, but if they can tell that you've got some wits about you, they may feel it's okay to throw you in the truck with minimal training and give you a wide open lot and see how you do. And that winter, we ended up getting a decent amount of snow. And I remember it was like December or January. I started thinking like, in the future, maybe I do want to plow snow.
And you had your lawn and landscape company for how long by then?
Oh, it was honestly, this was still like, I was still in high school.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there wasn't even really, that was like right in the infancy of there actually being a Bedell property management. I was still kind of like neighborhood lawn kid, but there was the inklings that I wanted to go into business for myself. And so, I reached back out and I said, well, are you guys looking for help? And they're like, heck yeah, we're looking for help. And just my luck, a couple days later, I think we got like 10 inches of snow, and I spent some time in a truck. I spent some time shoveling walks, putting down salt. My first big takeaway is I think it was like a 20-hour shift or something like that.
A little different.
Yeah, as the neighborhood lawn kid, I don't even know that I was working really like 8-hour days. It was like cutting some lawns after school or some on a nice Saturday afternoon, but it was all like a couple hours at a time, right?
Right.
Versus this was like big boy club, 20 hours. And then they like wanted me to come back the next day and do more cleanup stuff. And it's amazing at a big company when you show that you're like show up and are somewhat intelligent, they want to just dump all this work on you. Right.
Right.
And so I did that the rest of the season. And then at that point, I think I got my truck
shortly thereafter.
And I think it was the next season. They were like, you want to come back and plow for us? And I'm like, well, I got my own truck. I think I'm getting a plow. And they were like, well, you got a lot of accounts. And I'm like, not yet. And they were like, well, we can keep you busy. And so they gave me like 3 sites that I did that were kind of wide, a little more wide open. They weren't super crazy intricate, but I went and did those, and then I went and knocked out like the handful of driveways I did, and we did that for like a couple seasons, and then they gave me some more like high end stuff over in Birmingham, and we did that for another year or two as I continued to grow what I was doing.
Okay.
At that point, my brother joined the company, so we had like 2 trucks, and then it turned into 3 trucks going.
You were what, like 25-ish, maybe, like 5 years in business by then?
Yeah, I was like, maybe like early to mid 20s or whatever, something like that. Yeah.
By the way, as we're doing this, I just looked down. I got my shoes off already. Bedell goes, "You're gonna lose the shoes, huh?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Don't be surprised if by the time we're done, I lose the socks." And he's like, "That's cool. It's your house, bro." But I was in sandals right now. But I'm team no socks.
Yeah, we're here in flip flops. I was spreading fertilizer all day. You're cutting lawns, but we're cutting it up about snow, huh?
Well, that's funny how it works, right? Well, you weren't fertilizing in flip flops though.
Thank God, no.
I'm just messing.
Oh, that'd be bad.
There's Chris Drumheller digging with Drummy.
That's what I was gonna say. Drummy would be happy to know you're wearing socks right now.
I mean, leave us.
Never happens.
I would say leave us some ratings and reviews.
Are those the ones he sent you?
No, these are just some Under Armour. These are, I don't even know.
So you own other socks?
I'm not the sock person, bro.
I thought you like went barefoot in the Cujos or something like that.
I mean,
dude, we can't talk about your feet anymore.
I'm one with nature, Yeah, some weirdo out there is like, oh, I like feet. But anyway, it is the most common fetish. Just so people know. I don't know. We're going to leave that in the podcast, but it is a thing. So why?
Maybe Marty can chime in.
Take it away, Mr. Producer. No, he's probably going to edit all this out. This is funny. So getting started with plowing snow, it is one of those things too where subcontracting, some guys veer away from it.
Yeah.
But I think it can really help bridge the gap initially.
Yeah, it does. And I didn't stop there. Midwest made some changes and we kind of stopped doing some subcontracting there.
Okay.
And the next season I happened to get linked up with Troy.
Oh, okay.
And Jim, there was a guy, Jim, who used to work for Troy, who's kind of a legend in the snow and ice industry.
Is that the long white-haired guy?
Yep.
That you always talk about?
Yeah. He's also a very knowledgeable guy, kind of like a father figure in the industry. And me and him clicked really well. And as we've kind of touched on, Troy's quite the operation. So they're doing work like basically everywhere.
Yeah.
So a company like that, you can go, well, here's where my accounts are. And they're like, well, yeah, we do the bank on that corner and this over there and that over there. You want them? And that opened up. We did that for a couple years, and then we just got busy doing our own stuff and haven't really been able to do much since. But that's kind of like the whole snow in a nutshell. What were you going to say?
Well, I might even reach out to Troy because they do like I was going to say a national snow day. They do an open house, as you know, and they start bringing in 50 to 100 people that go through that mill in a day or two.
Yep.
And they start trying to figure out who's subcontracting, what, where, who, when, why, how, which is cool. And I don't need a bunch more snow. I don't need a bunch of more work, but I was like, you know what? I could take on a couple more accounts if they're in my route. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I will go.
It's worth having the conversation.
See where it's at, because I'm super reliable. I'm right here. We do good work. You know how it goes.
That's it. Like the thing that worked well for us was, our businesses operate like 2-3 miles from each other. So there wasn't the need like right in our area, but there was the fact that I work over in a more affluent area, about a half hour away, Birmingham, Bloomfield, where at that point, like, well, they have trucks in the area, but
if you're already there.
Exactly. Like, they know I'm going to be there every single time.
Absolutely.
So rather than as they put it, rather than calling someone in and, hoping that they make it in, like, that can be the backup plan.
I like it.
So,
well, let me ask you this. What do you say to the people that say there's no money in snow? Because I hear that a lot. That was one of my things I brought to you. There's no money in snow. You're going to lose your butt. You're going to lose your tail. You don't make any money. Like, you want to make $30 an hour, $50 an hour. Trucks break down, or trucks are expensive.
Well, those are all very true statements, but you can lose money doing everything ever,
and you can make money.
Yeah,
doing almost anything.
Doing anything. It's all about how you position yourself, knowing your numbers. So that's what makes snow a tough business, much like lawn care is. There's not a big barrier to entry, so you're going to get thrown into the lion's den with people who aren't running a professional business and frankly, like, don't even know what knowing your numbers means. They're just kind of putting their finger up in the air and figuring out a price, or the client's going to them and saying, you do this for $300 a month, and you're going, oh yeah,
sure.
Well, it works, so sure. And you don't even know, like, that $300 doesn't even cover your gas to do that account, let alone the labor and the salt and blah blah blah. Truck breaks down, and so it's the people who learn the hard way, who that's basically it. People who learn the real hard way are the ones who make statements like that, versus the people who don't dive in head first and do what you did, Brian, where before they go and make all these investments in trucks and plows and marketing and spending all their time getting in front of people, they spend an evening or two or an afternoon, and they take somebody to dinner, they download some training programs, they reach out to a mentor. I mean, that's the beauty of it. You're not the first person to plow snow. Lots of people have been doing this. I mean, people have been plowing snow for hundreds of years, even primitively, but like the way we get to fortunately do it, that's a science that's been evolved over the past 40, 50 years, from Department of Transportation's on down to private contractors now. So there's just an endless amount of resources. And so if you want to get into the business, it's good that you're thinking about it now, if you're listening to this right now in the month of August or September, or October. But whenever you're listening to this, it's never too late to reach out to a mentor, especially if you want to get into it, and download a training program, watch a YouTube video, listen to some podcasts, and start formulating how you're going to do this. And you got to look at your market, the costs of doing anything. And you touched on this on a previous episode, Brian. There's not a lot of for guys that want to use debt and finance things and dive into things that way. There's not favorable financing for it, because even the finance companies understand that it's good. The grass is going to grow. These guys are going to cut it 20 or 30 times depending on where they are, but it may or may not snow. And if it doesn't snow, then they know that you're going to have a hard time paying them. And so I would say it's more important, if you want to like dive into mowing lawns or hedge trimming or mulch or whatever, low barrier to entry. You can skin your knee on a bad job or two, and it likely won't ruin you. But yeah, you can bury yourself in the snow industry, and it has nothing to do with even a slip and fall lawsuit or something like that.
And do you know people that have?
that have gotten
bit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We both know people that have gotten bit.
We sure do. And we don't make light of it either. That's why we take it pretty serious when we talk about this.
Yeah, that's it. It hits close to home. It's not just something that can hypothetically happen. It's not a black swan event.
Yep.
Like you said, there's horror stories everywhere, but we know people that have really bit the bullet with a bad contract and not having the business acumen to just walk away from it.
Right.
And just they did their best to try and dig out, but they eventually, once equipment starts getting taken away from you, you're toast.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's not anybody that you guys would know like offhand, like that's been a guest on the show. But it is one of those things where I've heard like these rumblings, right? Like you were talking about. When I approached Bedell about 3 years ago, my snow story was I had always been doing residential driveways with snow blowers.
Yep.
It's really simple, really like remedial, but literally.
That's how I started in high school. It started with my dad yelling at me to probably middle school. Like, go snow blow. Are you going to go do the elderly neighbor down the street? I don't think anyone's done it. Get out there.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not if are you going to go? It's when are you getting out there to do the driveway?
The driveway's not done yet, Michael.
Yeah. I was going to say that's kind of how my mom approached it. She's like, get your butt out there. Well, and that's what we would do, right? For 20, 30, 40, $50, you go on out there if you got something from your parents. But then you go do the neighbor. And
and maybe the neighbor throws you a 20 or something like that.
Which is $1 million at 18, like you're like I'll take that. And that's what I did. I for some of you guys that have been with me on the YouTube channel for a while, you saw that I had that red F-150. The only I like that truck. The only real issue with the truck, besides it breaking it down every month, a little joke there, was the fact that it was 2-wheel drive.
Yep.
So when we had a 3-inch snowstorm, it was really no big deal. But anything over that, I was doing the shimmy and the slosh. And it was just tough to even get around.
Man, the amount of people who've said, "Oh yeah, but I'm going to plow snow in this 2-wheel drive truck," and I go, "Oh yeah, I do the same thing."
Instant no.
Okay with that. Like, no, I'm going to put some weight in the back and it's going to be fine. And I'm thinking, like, until you get in a loading dock or until there's 8 inches of snow, like
that's it.
And I've had to say to a couple people, dude, I know you. I know I'm going to pass you on my route and you're stuck, and I may not have time to help you.
No, for sure.
Probably will.
16 hours later. But... Yeah, 16 hours later. And that's what we want to do. We just want to talk, some roundabout general ideas and helpful tips on this one. But yeah, that's what I did. I got started plowing snow by doing snow blowing, as ironic as it sounds. Like I had 20, 30, 40 accounts for probably 8 or 9 years. And so when I decided to jump into it, I had about $3,000 or $5,000 that I'd do with snow. Like it was so insignificant. It's not really anything to post up on the board. But what I did have was customers, right? I did have 20 to 40 customers that you recognized, hey, like let's get your pricing right. And between that and then the money you've saved up and the cash flow you have from the lawn care business, like, look, you got to spot yourself 4 months on the truck payment. Can the lawn and landscape company support the truck? I said, yeah. And we both agreed, yeah, no problem. And because I was like showing you numbers and my business model. And back then, dude, that's 4 years ago, I had pretty crummy pricing. And I was still able to support this new truck. But you were like, yeah, if you get this truck, you can go finance this plow or pay cash for this plow. My biggest goal with getting started plowing snow was have year-round income, like solid year-round income.
That was the big thing that you were like. So is it some myth or a legend, or is this actually a thing? Like, I'm looking for year-round income,
big time.
Can I achieve that through snow plowing?
Yes,
and if so, how?
Because that's what it was. It was like, 10, 12 grand a month, 10, 12 grand a month. And you look good, you smell good, you sound good when you're making that at, whatever age. But then, as most of you guys may be listening in, we have the off season, right? And back then my snow money was, let's say $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month. Now, whether you're doing per contract or per push or per for the season, we can go down that rabbit hole a little bit, but the bottom line is I was like, dude, I'm only making $1,500 a month. This is not going to cut it if I want to have a full-time income and bring my wife home to be a stay-at-home wife.
Yep.
So I was like, well, Bedell, if I can make 10 grand a month plowing snow and make 20, 30 grand, that would be huge. That'd be huge. And you're like, well, how much can you put in? I'm like, I'm going to put 20 on the truck and buy the plow for 7,500 cash. And you're like, okay, but I needed that truck. And maybe let's talk about that for a quick second. Let's do this. I'm going to take a quick sip of water here, just clear my throat. And I want to start talking about how I got into it with the truck, because a lot of guys are looking to buy their first truck.
Sure.
Right. So I think that'll be a really good segue. That'll talk to a large audience here that are listening in for snow plowing. Which truck do you buy? Which truck do you look at? What equipment do we need to ante up? Now, we talk about this in the training program, and for real, shameless plug, start there. It's the How to Get Started Plowing Snow training program. But let's break that down a little bit more. Did you just hit your head?
No, the spring, dude.
Oh, you got the boom.
Yeah, the boom. My bad.
Are you all right?
Yeah, no, I set my water down and my hand hit it, I guess.
Hey, but Paul was saying that this whole thing is a little echoey, right? So we were doing a little beatbox. Ready? So shout out to Paul Jameson. He comes in here. He's like a what do they say, a bull in a china?
What an amateur move! I hit the spring and I just keep swinging. Wow.
That's how you guys know these podcasts are unfiltered, man. And it's a cool studio, but you can bump your head. You know what I'm saying? And all the tables are aluminum and wood.
It's studio round one. You know,
it's the first one.
Yeah, it was a build it and they will come type studio. Like
That's it, man.
Maybe at the new house a couple years ago. From now or a year from now, I imagine this will be maybe in a little bit nicer location.
We'll drop $90,000 on like the Maverick studio. Logan Paul, he's got a studio. It's $90,000. I'm like,
that's actually not that much money.
For a studio? Well, you have a background in music. Yeah. I don't even want to know. I was
going to say, I mean, Ken Captain was like the local like studio wizard who built a bunch of studios that I got to work in. But you're going to need to add a zero to the end of that.
Oh, gosh. I'm not. Yeah. Well, all those YouTube millions. So let's just we'll just pay cash.
Just cut a check.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Brian's 10 worldwide. You guys listening? You guys are
some serious sponsors at that point.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah. This one's brought to you by Amazon and SpaceX.
Yeah. I'm kidding.
Well, what did you want to talk about a second ago? You said about the snowblowers?
All right, yeah. So quick, because we do want to talk trucks, right? That stuff's real important. But I got to adjust the mic. That I really did hit.
I think you bumped it up.
Great. Okay, so we started before we jump into trucks here.
Yeah,
we were talking about how we both started with just guy in a snowblower, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to get in the industry and be the guy in the plow and the truck. But as someone who's been the guy in the plow and the truck and has an operation, has dealt with bigger operations, before we dive into being the guy in the plow and the truck, just take a moment and look at what you got. I remember saying this to Brandon from Envision Landscape a couple years ago.
Yep.
And I was like, hey, there is like endless demand for the guy that will shovel walkways with a snowblower, and you don't need a plow on a truck. You need a $700 snowblower and $30 shovel, a couple of those. And because at the end of the day, people don't want to get out of the truck, right?
Right.
And I acknowledge saying that, but just real quick before we move on, there's a quick little hack with snowblowers is if you're the guy who's got, like Brian said, I've got 30 or 40 driveways, but like, how do I step this up? But I can't afford the truck. Like if you've got somebody who's a big player in your market, they will hire you. Probably, I mean, I can't guarantee it, but I would be stunned if they don't have major interest in hiring you to subcontract out some walkways, because I know that basically every big outfit I've dealt with, that's always been a pain point is, it's hard to get drivers for trucks, but it's really hard to get walkway guys. And especially we get a big snow and then we get a snow the next day.
Yeah.
That's where like you as I'm going around, Brian's going around, you start noticing like, well, some lots are kind of plowed, but no one's doing any walkways right now.
Good point.
And it's because none of the walkway guys are answering their phone, or they're all like, in a coma because they just worked a 24-hour shift, right?
Yeah.
So just real quick before we hop in here, because we're going to spend plenty of time talking about investing in trucks and plows. That's great. You should, if you want to get to that level, you should do it. But if you want to work with what you have and maybe hop in mid-season or just, you don't have all that equity or credit or whatever to make that jump, Work with what you got.
I like it. No, you know what? That's a really good point, that you can make money at all levels of snow. So you can make money as the guy that's doing
Just like you can lose money, right?
Well, no, it's a great point. I mean, that's what I did. I got started just with snow blowers, and let's say back then, don't laugh, guys. Remember this part, but don't laugh. I was doing driveways for like $129 a year. Now, this was like 10 years ago, but they should have been $300, $400, $500, right? But hindsight 2020, I can't go backwards. It is what it is. That's why I met Bedell, or thankfully I met Bedell 4 years ago.
10 years ago, we were in kind of a gnarly recession, though. So
maybe that wasn't a bad price. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it truly. As you were saying that, I'm thinking back. I'm like, there was a lot of garbage pricing 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And some of it was don't know your numbers, and some of it was straight desperation.
This is true. Well, so I had seasonal contracts for like $125, $150 doing snow blowers, but to go full circle to Brandon, our friend with an Envision, Brandon works a skid loader with a push box doing condos.
Yeah.
And he would make like $20, $35 an hour.
He had all this experience from his time doing concrete. So
driving the equipment.
Yep. So getting in that type of machinery was not intimidating to him. And yeah, if you're a guy who's in the construction industry and you drive loaders all the time or skid steers, there's certainly that need too. The big shopping centers, you can't really necessarily do that with a plow truck, especially up our way. You're going to need that heavy equipment to really push.
And so don't think that you have to drop 30, 50 grand on a plow truck to go make $30, $50 an hour. Because, man, some of those guys that move the loaders at Walmart, around here, if you got good pricing and good people and good contracts and you're reliable, those guys make $30, $50 an hour all day long.
Yep, they definitely do.
And if they get into the overtime situation, because, they don't get overtime, but they do get overtime, but they don't get overtime. Whole nother topic. They get overtime, but you know what I'm saying? They can start making $50, $75, $100 an hour, some of those guys. Like late, I've seen it, I've heard it, and
pricing goes up when we're going to get annihilated with a lot of snow, because it's not like it very rarely is like, surprise, we're going to get 3 inches and we really get 12. Like with the hype of the news media these days, like they're all over us getting creamed with a bunch of snow, and I'm sure it's like that everywhere.
Now that's funny, listening to them talk about the media hype. Hi, Mr. Producer jumping in real quick, and as a quasi-influential member of the media in the Atlanta market, that's our dirty little secret. We all get kickbacks from the grocery stores just for saying the word snow on the radio. It is amazing how much milk and bread can be sold with just the threat of snow. For you who need the snow to make a little bread, listen closely.
For those of you guys interested in breaking into the snow removal game, this one's for you. Now available exclusively at thelawnpreneuracademy.com. We've got you covered with the How to Get Started Plowing Snow training program. This powerful resource is there to help you guys learn the basics to plowing snow, what to charge, major pitfalls and mistakes to avoid, and so much more. Hands down, one of the most anticipated and helpful training programs we have available. We'll get you up to speed on how to crush it with your snow removal business in no time. Check out the training program today at lawnpreneuracademy.com, because before you know it, we'll be out there plowing that snow and making that dough. Are you ready to make some serious money this winter with snow and ice management services? Are you looking to position yourself as an industry professional and to protect your bottom line from issues like unstable salt prices? Don't get left out in the cold this winter. Head over to debtfreelandscaper.com to check out the highly sought-after commercial and residential snow plowing contracts. These agreements are available for internet download and are easy to edit and make your own. Debtfreelandscaper.com, the green industry's most professional resource for lawn and landscaping contracts, hiring employees and subcontractors, and where you'll find the same money-making commercial snow contract that numerous contractors like Brian Fullerton have used to dominate the snow and ice management industry. DebtFreeLandscaper.com. Head over to DebtFreeLandscaper.com to get access to these incredible resources today and put yourself in a position to plow through the competition.
Might you be looking to promote your business or have us review a product? If so, email us at brianslawnmaintenance2007@gmail.com. Brian, spelled with an I, brianslawnmaintenance2007@gmail.com. And now back to two guys who had to walk 3 miles to school in the snow, each way and, of course, uphill. It's Brian Fullerton and today's special guest, Mike Bedell.
So
well, they name the storm. They name the storms now, right?
They do, and so and it puts the fear factor in people. Like, I mean, I'm thinking back to when I had a bigger snow operation than I even do now, and us getting we're gonna get 14 inches, and then like the night before, people are already bailing out, and you're like, I wish they weren't advertising that this is going to be such a bad storm. Like, now I'm not going to sleep because I got to figure out how to get all this work done.
Get 5 guys instead of I have 3 guys and 2 guys bailed out, and
mo snow, mo problems.
Most no more problem. Well, so you can make money even being an employee or just having snow blowers. Again, maybe you like Bedell said, maybe you help a buddy out and you're in the skid loader making $35 an hour, and you do go get your first truck and plow, but you're like, look, dude, I'm done in 4 hours. Now, not everybody's done in 4, 5, 6 hours. Right. Like Bedell was just saying, maybe you can talk more about this with personal experience, but there's some guys that have 16, 18, 24-hour shifts. And the only thing worse than that, as you just said, is when another snowstorm comes 24, 48 hours later and you basically reset.
Yep. Like you get 6 hours of sleep and you're back doing it again.
I was saying maybe, right? Because there's times where you get 5 inches, salt run, 5 inches, salt run, 10 inches. We've had small situations of that, and that'll try the best patience of anybody.
Yeah, you just get sleep deprived, and then you just get grumpy. At least I do. Brian deals with that all winter, where I'm like, Brian, what's going on?
Well, I try to make small talk with you when I see you in passing, and you're like, what?
Shut up, Brian.
I'm going to bed.
Can I salt your stuff? I want to go to bed.
I'm like, because it's always at 4 a.m, right? I'm like, Bedell, I just got the drone. You're like, I will kill you right now if you just say.
Yeah, I remember you flying that, me being so tired.
But you know what? At 4 a.m,
and you saying like, yeah, we're going to do this video. Keep it upbeat. And I'm like, upbeat? I've been flying snow for 20 hours.
You're pasty white. Your eyes are so bloodshot. It's not even funny. Yeah. You're like, dude, I haven't ate since this Culver's was open at 10 p.m. 16 hours ago or whatever.
Oh,
you're like, and I'm like, cool. Well, we're going to fly the drone. Look happy because we need to get views and subs. You're like, I'm literally going to kill you. I'm going to drive this plow truck. Well, he doesn't seem to be slowing down.
Oh, man.
Some of you guys listen to this right now. These are real stories.
Snow delirium.
Well, there's been many a times where, the funny thing too, plowing snow is that I feel like I have some of my best conversations with people at 2, 4, 6, 8 in the morning.
Sure.
Like straight up. Like
we've had some great conversations where we'll just put the speakerphone on and you're plowing lots, I'm plowing lots. And it'll be like, hey, I got to hop out and do this walkway real quick. Call you back in 8 minutes.
Yeah. Or we just leave the phone on. Yep. And then I jump back and I'm like, you there? You're like, yeah, I ain't going anywhere for another 12 hours. I remember Dylan Stevenson, shout out to Dylan. He listens to the podcast. And
what up, Dylan?
Dylan goes, he called me when he was working, delivering food in the food truck. The big semi-trailers, right? Was it Gordon's?
Yeah. And he's up at 3 or 4 in the morning, just like us.
He called me once and I picked up. And he goes, what are you doing? I think he shot me a text. And normally he'll shoot me a text and I read it. Back then, a year ago, he would shoot the text at 3 or 4 in the morning and I would read it at 7, right?
Yeah, he's throwing it out in the universe and it's like, Brian will get back to me when he's awake.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but the funny thing is like the 3 dots pop up for me, and it's like, you. And he's like, what? He's like, I'm like, what up, dude? And he goes, you're up? I go, call me. So he calls me, he goes, what are you doing? I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm delivering food. And I'm like, bro, I've been up for 5 hours. I'm like halfway through. I just crushed my Red Bull. I'm all jacked up. And we had like an hour and a half talk one day because he's on Bluetooth doing the food delivery, ramping
got his
up.
ISO tunes in.
He probably, yeah. Shout out to those guys. Brian's 10. And, and he goes, what are you doing up right now? I'm like, I'm plowing snow, bro. I'm going to be doing this for the next 10 hours, whether you're up or not.
Yep.
He goes, how much did you guys get up there? We didn't get anything down here. We got a dusting because in Ohio. And I go, 5 inches or whatever, 8 inches. And he goes, oh man. He goes, so you can plow and talk? I go, yeah. Well, I'm living the dream. I might have to hop out, like you said, and go tag up the sidewalks at the church or something or the strip mall. But yeah, plowing snow, to go full circle, you can make money as an employee. You can make money just snow blowing. And then you can make money in the truck, obviously, for somebody.
Yep.
I know guys that plow snow in the truck and they make $35 to $50 an hour, something like that all day long. I'd say high 20, 30s.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say in our market, it's if you've got a lot of if you're like the snow plowing goat, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're really really good and really really reliable, you can maybe get that.
Yeah.
But you're definitely starting at least 20 something because it's the whole but I'm getting up at 1 a.m. factor.
That's
right?
true.
So
that's true.
Even I know it's pretty commonplace that guys who have bigger operations, let's say they're paying their guys $18 or $20 an hour during the summer, they're probably going to make more like 25 or 30 during the winter, just because they know that it's two things. They may not get as much hours every week, so it compensates it a little bit. And it's in the summer, you're showing up at 6-7 o'clock in the morning,
right,
leaving at 3-4, maybe still working to 8 or 9 o'clock. It depends, but maybe leaving early and it's still nice out versus show up at midnight and go home at 6 a.m. or something like that.
After more than likely you were up all day, right? And that's the tough part.
Well, yeah, because you got to make a life. If you're really going to get into it and you're in a market that gets a lot of snow, you discover you kind of make a lifestyle out of it. You like my girlfriend calls it inverting my sleeping pattern. We're like,
absolutely,
I'm up all night,
you're nocturnal,
and then I'm like sleeping in the middle of the day.
That's the one thing that now when I went from working restaurants, I was all nights and weekends. Mm-hmm. I worked at True Green. It was all early mornings and 8 to 5. It was like 5 to like 2 Monday through Friday.
Yep.
And then I get in the business for doing lawn care, and it's like 8 to 4 Monday through Friday or whatever. And then I do snow my first year, and I kind of knew it was go mode because I was doing the snow blowing, but snow is entirely different. Where it could be done snowing at 9 p.m. at night, and you're out there from 9 p.m. to the following morning 9 a.m. Right, and you're like,
there's no given start time. It's you just gotta people will DM and ask what time do you go out plowing snow? I'm like, when it stops, or when it piles up enough that I need to get out there because it's gonna create a problem if I wait any longer.
Well, what about birthdays? What about anniversaries?
Christmas, Thanksgiving. I've missed numerous holidays.
New Year's,
plowed snow. I've done
all of them by now.
My first several years doing this, I think one of the years plowing for Midwest, and then my first maybe couple years with my own truck, every New Year's Eve into New Year's Day, we got a banger of at least a foot. Mm-hmm. And
that was 06, 7, 8.
Yep.
I remember those.
Yeah. And I remember I would go to a friend's party and be the soberest person there.
Yeah.
And then it's 12:05 and I'm like, all right, guys, I'm taking off. And they're like, what, are you leaving, man? And I'm like, yeah, I got to go plow snow. And someone's like, yeah, it's really snowing outside. I'm like, that's why I'm leaving. See you guys. Nobody drink and drive.
Well, I remember being at a New Year's party and I went outside. Bro, I walked into the New Year's party at 4 p.m., right? We're just hanging out. Mm-hmm. I came out at 12:20, right?
Mm-hmm.
New Year's ball drops and we're ready to rock and roll. I go outside, 10 inches of snow. And I was like, oh my God. I was so, you know how I check the weather. I checked the weather rock.
And the weather rock was covered.
The weather rock, there was no weather rock. It was under a foot of snow. And I went, well, I guess I'm going to go snow blow driveways for the next 5 hours. And that's always tough too, because, when you snow blow, you hit the 2-stroke. Uh-huh. And people are like, why are you snow blowing at 2 a.m? If I don't snow blow at 2 a.m, they get pissed. If I do snow blow at 2 a.m, they get pissed. So snow blow, and the plow truck.
That's so true.
You know how it goes. What's your official policy? Do you snow blow after midnight 1, 2?
Yeah, well, it depends on the site. It depends. Some of our commercial sites, we're certainly not the noisiest thing going on around there. And as long as there's not a bunch of residences, but you get into some of the high end residential stuff, and I try not to. My favorite with those is when I know they're out of the country or something like that.
Sure.
And literally no one's there, and it's I roll up and there's so much snow, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have to shovel this. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
No one is here right now. I can make them as much noise as I want because these houses are big and no one will even know where it's coming from. Perfect. But yeah, I mean, and not to get in the weeds with this, but after you've done this for a while, you equate that into the pricing. And so those people are paying for the hand shoveling and not the fact that your efficient piece of equipment is sitting in the back of your truck.
Yeah.
They're still paying for the piece of equipment to sit there, whether you're using it or not.
Sure.
And that's man.
Well, I want to go back to the.
Man, so many. You just brought back so many good memories, Brian.
I remember pulling it once, and I remember somebody flashing a flashlight out the window at me. Like, I think they're mad, because it's basically, it was 3 a.m, and it's like, what? And then, at the end of the street, because this was before I had a plow truck, right? So you get the snow plows go through.
Oh, yeah.
In the subdivision, you got the foot tall of ice in the slush, and a little 2-stroke snow blowers, and we all know how effective that is, right? So I'm like, you just hear like the scraping, and then you hear the F-ity, F, for me, because I'm like, this is stupid. And I bought a plow truck, the nicest setup I could, because I was so sweat equity'd out for 10 years. I was so mad at snow, like, already, and I didn't even do it yet. And I was like, look, if I'm going to do it, I am so over the top going all in. Like, that was my approach.
Well, and that's so the beauty of snow, and we've kind of touched on it, is like if you want to get into lawns, but you just have a weed whip or you just have a mower, like you don't really have everything in the equation. Like you're going to get one up by the company or the other guy down the street that can actually like weed whip and blow off. Or if you just have a blower, you can't cut grass. Versus if you got a shovel, you got a snow blower, you have 2 hands and 2 legs and some willing to grunt, you can get into the industry, and that's great. But if you want to have longevity in the snow and ice industry,
sure,
it's you got to have reliable equipment, because to go back to lawns, something breaks down or it rains or something comes up, you just go do those lawns the next day. 90+% chance no one even notices or cares or chews you out.
Right.
And maybe, and even if they like ask about it, it's not like, well, we're going to fire you because of it. But like snow is really an of and the essence work. And, if you want to get into it, you're kind of giving up your entire winter. It's hard to go on vacation. You're on call in the summer. You're probably not going to go mow a lawn at 1:30 in the morning.
Right.
Wake up at 2 a.m. to go to the bathroom and be like, oh my God, I need to get in the truck right now. There's 3 inches of snow. We weren't even supposed to get snow right now. Like,
absolutely.
I have to go.
Yeah.
And you're immediately put into a panic. Those things don't happen in other parts of the industry.
Right.
And so I remember I kind of like scared you straight when we had that dinner. And I was like, oh, you want to get into plowing snow, huh? Like, well, like, about this and about this and about and a lot of the things that I just mentioned. And they didn't seem to faze you. And so that's how I was like, all right, I think he really wants to do this. Versus there are other people who I talk to who, they've heard you can make money in it, or they've like, my buddy made $100,000 last winter plunge. I need to make that money too. And and there's no context there. And then once they realize like, because your buddy didn't sleep all winter, and he grossed $100,000, but he didn't actually make all that money, and hopefully he spent 110 doing it.
Sure
that happens.
Well,
or 150.
Well,
200.
Well, we know people who have.
Yeah, and that's it. Like it's if you lose your butt mowing lawns, or like I said on a mulch job, it's like skinning your knee. You figure it out pretty quick. Yeah. And if you're going to resolve the issue, you figure it out. Yeah. Otherwise you burn out pretty quick. But snow and ice, it's a tough industry. It's relentless. And if you put yourself in a bad situation, it just piles on, much like the snow piles up.
Sure. Well, I remember us having these conversations at Black Rock, right? Yep. And I think at the same time, or just before or just after, I had priced out that plow at Weingart's. Yeah. And and that's the story I talked about that you talked about earlier. I was like, well, what's the financing option? Like 0 for 42, ha ha ha. And I don't know if it was James or Alex, and they're like, and they like chuckled, like the awkward, not nervous chuckle back, like, ha ha. Oh boy, one of those, like, this is a rookie for sure. And I remember asking, like, why don't they have favorable rates? And they go, because you can go out of business your first 4 months doing snow. And not to scare you guys, but that's why we have this training program that I have. And it's not a pitch to buy the program. I'm just saying, spend $100 for the life of God. Spend $100 learning just some of the basics that I have in there, and it'll save you potentially tens of thousands of dollars in heartache and headache and frustration, because you can go broke doing snow and you can clean up doing snow. I've personally felt like I've done pretty well cleaning up with snow, and just the 2.5, 3 winters that I've had so far. And I've learned from Bedell. Bedell's learned from Troy. Bedell's learned his own formulas too, right? So we're trying to give you guys just our opinion, but also some perspective.
Yeah, that's a lot of people they want to get into this because they hear like, I got to get the white gold. Like, oh, I see guys are making this money. You know, if you're on Instagram or YouTube this winter or last winter or whatever winter, you see those videos appearing in your feed, and you're like, well, I'm sitting at home and my wife spent $200 on Amazon today, and no one's making any money. Like, I'm not making any money. And then you see Brian and I'm spreading salt, Brian's plowing, and I'm shoveling walkways, and you're like, well, they're making money. Like, maybe I need to do this too, and maybe you do,
right?
But the key, and that's why I said earlier, Brian's hit on it. Like, it's taking the time to have those conversations on the front end. Not everything is always as easy as it appears. Not everyone, but a lot of people in this industry start out because we're doing our own lawn, or we're doing mom's lawn, or we're doing the neighbor. And well, I'm already doing lawns. I already got the equipment. I'll just get out there. And you're like, well, I already got a snowplow, or I already got a snowblower. Yeah, and I'm probably don't have a snowplow, but
sure.
But I've got some piece of equipment or a shovel. Like, I can do driveways. I can do this. This isn't how hard is this? These guys are out there at 2 a.m. It's not that hard.
And until you find out that a snowplow is $7-8 grand, until you find out that snow tires are $1,500, until you find out that you can go through literally $100 a night in gas. Maybe $50 in diesel, $30 in diesel, but I can go through, my tank on my truck is, 300 miles, and I can go through 2/3 of a tank of gas on an 8-hour window. The back of, depending on the amount of snow.
Yeah,
I mean, I can spend $100 on gas. Well, gas is pretty cheap right now, but a couple years ago, for sure, I've spent $80 to $100 a night on plowing snow just on gas.
There's much like when you really get into lawn care, there's not a lot of good conversation about like the in the weeds costs of everything. Like, what's the trimmer line really cost? What the edger blades? What about like, okay, well, yeah, that's the price of the gas, but you got to pay for the gas can, and you got to pay for the 2-cycle mix. On and on and on. And it is the same in snow plowing. It's not just the like, oh, you get out there and they're going to pay me $300 to plow this lot. It's like, well, yeah, but you got to have the plow, and then how much gas is it actually got to take? And
I got to repair the front end on a F450 diesel.
Yeah, well, and I was just gonna say, and the costs don't end just because the snow event ended.
Talk about that, dude, because you have some diesel trucks that you had was it last year or 2 years ago?
Every year, Brian.
You were
every year.
I keep making the pitch to Bedell. I'm like, new versus used. You guys I've done some videos on Truck Talk Tuesday series.
Yep.
And if Bedell wasn't as grounded as he is with his numbers, I think by now I would have talked Bedell into just literally just consolidating your fleet, potentially again from 3 to 2, or at least buying new trucks. Because you were like I got to go. Go ahead, take it away. You know what I'm talking about, because you had a couple big repair bills and a week or two where I was like, Bedell, how's it going? You're like, well, it's been an expensive week. And I go, what's up, dude? We just probably had a $5,000 week plowing snow in 3 events. And you go, well, I would have liked to have made that. And I go, what's up? And like the somber part of the conversation. I'm like, what's up, dude? And you go, well, my truck's up at our dealer. And I go, yeah, how's that going? And you just send me a screenshot, remember, of the diesel mechanic per hour. And you're like, diesel per hour this, and you go, I've already been here for 11 hours today, or 4 hours today. You're like, this is going to be nice. So there's expensive repair bills, bro.
Very, very expensive. But I mean, thankfully, I
ran your numbers.
Like the there's the money there to pay for them, at least on my end. Like, as I've done this throughout the years, I've really known and built into our costs that you do just brutalize the equipment. And truth be told, even though stuff breaks, I get told all the time how gentle I am. And then every mechanic starts telling me horror stories of plows that they get brought in.
Oh, sure.
They're like, well, yeah, but this truck has 180,000 miles on it. It's about time this broke, versus I've had guys do 10 times the damage to a truck with 30,000 miles.
Wow.
And so for my opinion, some of the newer trucks have had some interesting issues. Like, ask our buddy Sean Spencer and his new truck.
Oh, right? Yeah, with transmission issues or engine issues.
Yeah. So,
well, you had a strip, like a timeline of like, was it 3 weeks in a row? Like 1 or 2 different trucks broke down. Was that last year?
A couple years ago, I had like
They were both in there. Remember, like the 350?
Yeah, probably.
You probably like what do they call it? Like suppressed it?
Yeah. So I mean, if we really want to get in the weeds on snow plowing, man, you're gonna have some dark memories that you suppress, and then someone brings them up, and like,
I'm sorry,
all of a sudden, like
Triggered.
Brian's talking, and like I'm having nightmare visions right now of things that have happened at 3 in the morning. But yeah, I mean, that's it. Stuff's gonna break, and you're lucky if it just wear and tear and can kind of get fixed in the off season, but. I mean, it's you want to plow snow until you limp a truck home at 3 a.m, and then like.
Well, you still went through Starbucks though. Remember when you were limping at home? You said the.
No, I did. Nothing's open at 3 a.m,
no,
dude.
I
I limped it home. I lost like all the heat in the truck, and I
remember this one.
I took a hot shower so I could get feeling in my feet again, and then I got in the other truck that was already set up and just went back out. Yeah. And oddly enough, didn't have any service failures. No one even knew that there was this problem except for like Brian and a couple other people when they checked in like the next day. Like, how did it all go? And I'm like, I hate my life.
I appreciate the honesty because that it's always like look at Thunder, look at Bedell, 10-foot blade.
Yeah, I mean it's and they're.
It happens to the best of us.
Well, at this point, they're tools to make money, right? Like I tried not to get overly attached to the pieces of equipment, but at the end of the day, like the industry is tough on stuff. All your equipment, even if it's just like shovels break. Like I remember at Midwest Landscape, there was literally like a pile in the corner of the shop where as all the trucks came back, guys were just unloading the broken shovels that they had. And at the end of the event, there's this like pile of like 30 broken shovels.
Yeah.
And then like they're pulling cases of brand new shovels they already have like off of the shelf, and me saying like, how many do you guys go through? And they're like, oh, I don't know, a couple hundred a winter at least. And like, at $30 a pop, like that's gotta be factored. And so even when you're small time, it's the paddles on the snowblower, the scraper edge. You might go through a shovel or two. Sweet 10-foot DXT plow on a 550. The rig's awesome, and the cutting edge I think is like $800.
I need a new one. I got to get that taken care of in the next 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, I put a new one on, and I don't even think we used it last year. But it's the expensive. It's an expensive industry. Well, even if you're not just breaking stuff, even if you're just trying to maintain your equipment.
I think this story, not to bring it up because it's just real life though. I want to share these like real life stories because like you said, you do get married to the lifestyle of snow. Mm-hmm. Like, and by the way, we're talking plowing snow. We're not talking about salt runs yet. Like, yeah,
we're not into salt at all. This is all just the fun of plowing snow.
Yeah, but exactly. So there's 10, 12, 15 snow events that we do up here in Michigan, on average per year, but there could be 2 to 3x of salt runs. And so there's things breaking, things corroding. We beat the snot out of our equipment. Like you said, they're tools. Mm-hmm. But I remember you were having like that day when you limped a truck back. What does limping a truck back mean for some of these guys that might not know that?
Well, when your truck has lost all of its coolant, it goes into limp mode, and you can't take it above like 25 miles an hour.
And you were like, thankfully, 5 minutes down the road from home.
Oh, no. I was like, I was in that affluent community of Bloomfield. It was all right. So it happened at one of my bigger. This has happened a couple times.
It's funny now. It wasn't funny like when it happened.
So this is like the second or third time this issue's happened, to the point where like as it's happening, I know exactly what's happening, and I was like, well, I'm just going to finish this account because I don't need to go fast to finish this. Like, it's this real high-end driveway, get it all cleaned up. And at that point, I'm like, well,
at least I'm done with it.
This truck's got to go. And I remember, like, as I'm cleaning up the snow, thinking, like, do you get the truck towed back?
Right.
Or do you try and make it home? And my dad grew up on a farm, and his dad grew up on a farm, and his dad grew up on a farm. So every once in a while, like, I get this like farmer carnal knowledge that comes out, and I'm like, well, your grandfather would have limped the truck home. And I'm like, well, It's also like 3 degrees out right now. So it's going to be hard to overheat the truck, even though you're probably like everybody who's into trucks right now is probably like turned off the mower and is just like, what did Bedell do?
Why would you do this?
Why? Just get it towed. But I'm like, even though I all right. So snow plowing problems, I have the big wrecker guy's cell phone number. I don't have to call the company. I just call him because he takes the truck home. And he would have come and got me at 3 a.m.
Right.
But I'm like, $300 tow bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
3
like,
hours
and I'm like, you know what? If you limp it halfway home and it dies, it might only be $150 tow bill. And man, I sound like a cheap dude talking about this. But anyway, the thoughts you have at 3 a.m. And so I limped it all the way home, going 25 miles an hour. And the best part is there was like 2 or 3 plow trucks that like went around me, and I remember like the driver looking at me, knowing like what he's
okay?
like you know when a truck's in limp mode because like speed limit's 45 and this guy's going 20 and he's got his flashers on, and they both like the 3 times it happened, everyone like kind of like went around me but slowed down and like looked at me like, dang, glad I'm in this truck that's doing good. And I
don't laugh at, I laugh with, because you've told me these stories and you're like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm so excited, and like I'm all gung-ho, and you're like,
well, and you don't know until you know. And my philosophy at this point, because this is year 16 in the industry, is at this point, like if things haven't happened to me, like I'm about due time for things to hit the fan. Like you can only go to work so many days without like eventually
new.
Yeah, I mean that's why everything has odds and statistics, right? So at this point I'm like, well, I guess it's due for that to have happened. But to say all that, my saving grace, besides knowing my numbers and having money stored away, so when this happens, I'm not like, oh my God, I don't have any money, my business is over.
Right.
I'm able to work a plan and figure everything out. But part of that is we talk about it in the summer all the time, but it does translate over to winter, is dealer support. Whether it's your Ford or Chevy or Ram dealer that's going to work on your truck, but like a Weingart's who's going to work on your plows or your salters, or even
we both had to do that.
Yep. Or even like the place that sells a lot of salt to me and other contractors, Site One. Like some of those have in-house mechanics that can work on stuff. And like that's where I've gotten one of our salters from. And that when I've had issues with that, I just take it to them until like eventually you can self-diagnose what's going on because you've broken enough things, but you got to build this team of resources.
Yeah. Well, I remember, I think it was the same day that you limped the truck back. I think I was like wrapping up. You only probably had like a couple hours left, maybe.
That was it. I really had like 3 sites left. Hence why I was able to pull off like, we got lucky in the sense that like it stopped snowing at like 7 or 8 o'clock. So it was one of those beautiful, and if you plow snow, you'll eventually know. If you get into it, or if you do plow snow, you'll know that like that's the best thing ever when you have all night to plow snow rather than it stopping at like 5 a.m. and and you've been out for like an hour or two, but everyone wakes up and sees that it's not snowing, and then it's like, why isn't my driveway done? Why isn't the parking lot perfect? Like, well, I woke up and it wasn't snowing. What time did you go out?
All the retail people that are the hero, the store managers, they get there at 9 a.m. Like, of course, I'm the store manager. That's why I get paid the big bucks. Of course, I'm going to be there to open the store. It's a snow emergency. But, boom, 8 a.m., they're there. And at 8:01, why isn't the parking lot done? I go, it just finished snowing 20 minutes ago.
You don't even have any customers that are coming today.
Nobody's coming.
The parking lot needs to be perfect.
all that. So you got to deal with the stress, the breakdowns. But I remember I was talking to you or calling you because we actually, Bedell and I were pretty accountable, like where we touch base with each other. Hey, dude, you need some sleep. Hey, dude, do you need a hand? Hey, dude, how's things going? And for me, I really appreciate that. That just having somebody have your back. Yep. Because I've said on podcasts and videos way back, I said, if Bedell called me and said, yo, dude, my truck broke down and need your truck, and I'm done, I would say, okay, I'll leave the truck keys on the seat. Just go take it. I'm going to bring it back with a tank of gas. I don't care. But I remember you that night, I think you're like, no, dude, I got the 350 ready to go. I just got to make it back home. If I make it back, I'm good to go. And I'm like, all right, cool. Normally I leave my phone on mute, silent when I sleep, but I said, I'll leave it open with the volume on in case you call. But I think literally I called you, the next morning, like 5-6 hours later, like at 10 a.m. and you were just getting back. And I said, how you doing? You go, oh, I'm good. Like, you're all chipper. I don't know if you remember this. And you go, I'm all chipper. And I'm like, why are you all chipper? You're like, well, I got some Tim Hortons coffee and that was a business expense. Do you remember this one? Yeah. You're like, I got the receipt and I wrote coffee, snowstorm. Sad face, like, because you wrote the little note, on the receipt, because that's what you got to do.
Yes.
And you go, this is a business expense. I go get him, Bedell. You were so mad that you spent $1.99 on a business coffee because you were like, I'm gonna stick it to the business or whatever.
Yeah. I think I needed the coffee because then at that point I had to limp the truck down to the dealership to have them put this new radiator hose on, and now the front has a lifted suspension on it with airbags, so this issue never happens again.
There you go. Well, you've had your fair share of maintenance bills and repair bills.
Yeah, well, and you got to get creative too. Like, that was a creative solution that the truck sagged enough with the plow, even though it's weight capable and blah blah blah.
Sure.
That over time it was just close enough that when you hit a bump with the snow plow, it was rubbing and rubbing like it burst a hole, and all of a sudden you're blowing out all your radiator fluid. And so you got to get, ask Troy about this. I mean, that's why he has a whole shop and guys, because they're always fabricating stuff, because even though it works, it doesn't work.
Well, it's just funny. I see,
but you want to get into snow plowing.
Yeah,
guys.
I was just gonna say, it is super fun. You're
still listening, and we haven't scared you away yet.
Yeah, it is super fun. It is super profitable. It is a lifestyle. I don't know if it was Nick Carlson with Mulchmate or somebody. He was like, I never got in the snow, and somebody said I didn't want to give up, my 4 months of winter, and snow is not for everybody. I don't think if I made the money that I did doing snow that I would ever do it, because if I didn't get paid what I did, there's no way I would do it. That's what
Yep.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's a beast, and if you're really gonna sacrifice, you can't take vacations. For a lot of us, it's like our off season, if you will. We're trying to recuperate, recover, work on our lawn and landscape business, get contracts in order, do all this stuff. And 2 winters ago, we didn't really have a big break. It was snow, salt, snow, salt, snow, salt, and you and I we never really caught our breath. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember us having a conversation about going into spring, and you're like, you ready to crush it this spring? I'm like, I'm ready for a nap, bro. and I remember I went down to Florida for a couple days, and I came back and you're like, oh dude, I bet you're so recharged. I'm like, a little bit. I was like, it's like plugging your phone in and getting 15% and being like, all right, let's get out there and do it.
6 months,
I was like, Brian, we're gonna see how this goes as the summer carries on. Mike Bedell's tired, and we're starting spring cleanups on Monday.
You were like, I think I'm moving to Puerto Rico where my dad has a place. I'm like, peace out, bro. And then I'm like, hey, Bedell, you want to do a video?
Yeah.
I can't believe you guys didn't kill me along the way, because I'm all like, hey, let's do a video, and you're like, I'm on 3 hours of sleep, bro. I'm gonna kill you.
It's I'll say this. It's good. I don't know, personal development or something like
people
that.
Skills.
They do kind of the same thing to you in the military, shake you awake in the middle of the night. I've heard about this and make you go run. It's
to break you down.
It's just a different version of breaking you down. You hate your life. You doing snow plowing?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, here's a camera in your face. No, but it's all about helping people out. And
of course it is. Of course it is.
And insert socially acceptable line here.
Yeah, that's what I was telling Bedell. I'm like, hey, but you can help people. He's like, you keep using that one on me. He's like, I'm gonna kill you. And no, I'm just messing. But it is funny that I remember when we were plowing snow and we were shooting some videos. And it is fun because honestly, my first 2 years, people are like, well, I had a lot of comments saying oh, you're a newbie to snow. You're a rookie to snow. That'll wear off soon.
Yep.
And honestly, bro, I still like plowing snow. I gotta admit, I get when it's snowing out there and I remote start and I'm warming up the truck. Now we should talk about that. Why does Brian like plowing snow more than I do? And it's because you saw the good and the bad and the ugly, and you put limits on what you will and won't do. Sure.
And you've teamed up with people that will do the things that you won't do, and so in turn, you're able to live the good parts of it. And will you have bad times? Have you had bad times?
Absolutely.
Sure. I mean, we've had some fun conversations as you're trying to repair a snowblower in the overhang of Home Depot, and the wind's blowing at 40 miles an hour, and your fingers are getting frostbite. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's not.
I wanted to throw that thing in the commode.
Yeah. So the things that don't make it on YouTube or Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not always pretty for everyone, but. It's what I was saying about I've been out there so long for so many hours. It's only inevitable that like real terrible crap is going to start happening.
Yeah.
And so a great way to shield yourself from that is to know what you will and know what you won't do.
Yeah. Contingencies too.
Yeah. And put limits on things and build a team. That way, you got people that bail you out.
Yep.
But that's something that I've noticed that you've done probably better than anybody else I know in the industry is like, I mean, a lot of people do what I do. We all just dive in head first and then like make a niche for ourselves and figure out like what works, what's our most profitable clients, what people do we want to work with, hey, who pays us.
Yeah
Right. But
snow was the first thing that I had started. I had some residential driveways,
sure,
but I wasn't all in, right? Like some of us now, you have 100 customers in lawn care, and you're like, well, I'm going to go to landscaping. I'm like, I don't know if you just immediately make that jump, right?
Yeah, because they're not quantifying all the work that it's going to take for the 100 landscape accounts.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I even remember when I was young, maybe a year or two into this business, and I'd kind of gotten in a couple subdivisions, and I had a lot of route density like you used to at one point in time. And I remember, like, as I was leaping into that, we're doing lawn and we're going to do some landscape stuff too. And I remember my dad being like, I believe you're going to cut 80 or 90 lawns, but you're going to do all the shrub trimming.
Yeah.
You're going to do the mulch at 90. He's like, Mike, what are you going to do if all 90 houses want 10 yards of mulch? Like, are you really going to get all that mulch delivered? You really have a team that's going to stick with you through all 90 houses? And,
in a time frame?
Yeah. And it's like
by June.
And the same thing applies to snow is like a lot of people, they and it maybe is market specific. Some people maybe have to worry about this less, but with us here, it's part of the reason we use dynamic pricing where people aren't paying typically for what you get for a 2-inch storm. They're not paying the same price for a 10-inch storm.
Sure.
Because a lot more goes into it in a 10-inch storm. And guys sometimes try and oversimplify that.
Yeah.
And that's a quick way to burn yourself. If you put a cap on what you're going to make in an industry that doesn't have a cap on how much you're going to work,
right? That's
called gambling.
Yeah, variables. Snow is the most. That's a great way. I think we'll wind down with this one. Just because we're already at an hour and 10 minutes, we like to keep them at an hour and respect Bedell's time and you guys that are listening. So we don't take your whole day. Even though I know we're having a lot of fun, but a lot of variables in snow. Right, you can get a winter with 100 inches of snow.
Yep.
What do we get?
We've had it.
We have. I think that was like 07, 08.
13, 14.
Was it 13, 14?
13, 14 was we got 104 inches of snow.
We broke the record.
Southeast Michigan. Oh, by far. That was the gnarliest winter
I think
ever.
I think like the year or two before.
That was the year polar vortex became a catchphrase.
Is that right?
Yep.
Well, that was the year I went to per push on my contracts. All right. So I cleaned up that year. I made like, $7-8 grand, which was like 300% more money than I usually make, right?
Sure.
Or whatever.
And you also worked 300% more.
Dude, that's when I was like, literally we were doing snow every other day. I was like, this is ridiculous. But there is a ton of variables in snow. And so that's why I quote unquote call it like big boy club. It's not necessarily something you just jump into and you go, well, I see all these guys on YouTube with trucks and plows and lights and flashing lights. And they just think that it's just a shoe-in, easy money. Can you make a lot of money? Yes. Is there a lot of exposure? Yes. I mean, Bedell, you've ever had your truck slide or black ice or crazy things like that have maybe helped you pop out 1 or 2 gray hairs before?
I mean, if you gotta look at me, I'm pretty great.
You got this George Clooney looking look going on,
and I feel like a lot of that is because of snow.
You said half of it was employees, the other half was snow.
I believe that. That's a good mix.
I think that's what you told me once. You're like, yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna get a big business. I'm gonna do snow, and you go, hey, you got blonde hair. You look good. They're like, hold on, and I go, what? Let me sit you down. Lots of variables.
Truth.
lots of variables in snow. Now, we're talking about some of the horror stories this time, some of the fun stories too.
Scared you all away, didn't we?
Yeah, not everybody's gonna be like, I don't want to do snow. But here's
scared straight snow plowing story.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, you can make a lot of money with snow. I just want you to have the full picture.
Yeah, it's because no one sat me down, like I shared with you guys. I kind of talked myself into it, and I don't know, maybe I had like a dad or an uncle who was like, I plowed some snow in college. That's a tough business. But like, I don't even know if that comment really resonated with me. I'm going like, yeah, okay, whatever. But then, you get out and you work from somebody, and like, you get a taste of the industry and the long shifts, but it is a whole other beast when there's no other accountability. Like, if you work for someone else and you get sick or don't show up or have a family emergency, like, they got to figure it out. But
right.
When you're doing it for yourself, you've made all this investment, you've bought a plow, you bought a truck, and now it's go time, and the weather doesn't care if you've got a stomach ache or broke your hand,
the flu,
yeah,
or an anniversary, or it's Christmas. I think the last 2 years we've had 5 inches on Christmas.
Yeah, there's been some the missed family time, that's for sure.
I remember, I remember literally snowing on Christmas Eve, and when my family, we're Polish, so we have a bunch of people come over. We do the whole hoopla, right? And so we're hanging out from like 3 to 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve, and we got 5 or 6 inches of snow. Family's leaving, and I'm like, all right, time to go plow snow. And I remember plowing one of my driveways, 2 miles down the road from my mom's, in my route, and had the lights on. And the guy was texting me because there was like 10 cars in the driveway, one of those deals. And the guy Kyle, he goes, what? He goes, is that you out there? Like, pew, hit the little thing on my phone, and he goes, is that you out there? I go, yeah, bro. He's like, it's literally like it's 12:20 at night by now. He's like, it's literally snowing, or it's literally Christmas. I go, hey, oh yeah, hey, Merry Christmas. Like he was like, no, it's Christmas. Go home, Brian. I go, no. I go, this is why you pay for me to do this. And he's like, go home. And I'm like, I thought he was like, Merry Christmas to me, having fun. And I was like, hey, right back at you, bro, because I embody it. Here's the biggest thing I'll tell you with snow. And again, this isn't, I'm not trying to do a pitch here with the snow training program. But in all sincerity, we go through so many of these topics. What Bedell and I talked about, we scratched the scratch, because in the training program, it's all meat about what to do right.
Yeah, now that we've scared you straight, if you still are listening and are interested in doing this and aren't like, whoa, I had no idea, like, maybe I'll just go get a job at a medical supply place during the winter, stock some shelves, or maybe I'll squirrel money away.
Work at Best Buy.
Yeah, or maybe I'll squirrel money away and just relax and take care of myself and put myself in a good position to really go crush it in the spring with my business. And that's totally fine too. Just because you see other people doing stuff doesn't mean you have to go do it.
Right.
But if you're interested in it, you have all these resources available to you, Imagine how many less gray hairs I would have if I had those type of resources.
No, and that's what I want to do. I want to present the full story, like the full picture with snow.
Yeah.
Because
in case anyone thinks you're just this happy-go-lucky sales guy, like, no, we can get on here and tell you guys some terrible stuff about snowplow.
I did a podcast, I don't know, it was probably in the 70s or 80s, my 2 worst days in my business career.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, one was me getting my lawnmower stuck in a massive field. It was,
and the HOA guy just kind of laughing at you driving by with his truck.
Yeah, he literally did. He goes, man, you're in a pickle. And he walked away. I go, you're kidding me. Do you remember this? No, I was like, dude.
I remember listening to that and going, oh, I didn't know Brian back then, but that's rough.
Yeah, I was literally like, and I cried. I was like, I went and called Liz. I cried. She's like, what are you going to do? I go, I don't know. That's why I'm calling you. She's like, I don't know. But the other super bad story was when I took my snowplow truck off my friend's side of his driveway. And my truck is at I think in the audio the podcast I said like a 30 or 40 degree angle. But dude, all I know is that I could see, when we get a snowstorm, like the sun comes out, a couple hours later.
That's it. The sun comes up and like the clouds are kind of broken and like it's hitting the white beautiful snow and it's like, wow, this quiet. Is something out of like
it's majestic
a picture or a movie.
Seriously.
Yeah. Wow.
It's like Snow White.
People paint scenes like this.
And I remember looking at the sky, blue sky, and I'm like, If I'm looking at the sky in my truck, I don't know what angle that is, 15, 20, 30 degrees. But dude, I took my truck off the side of a freaking, little hill 9 feet down and plow hanging, dude, bro, straight up 8 feet off the ground. And I'm like, nobody put this in the employee handbook. Nobody, but Bedell taught me a lot of things. He didn't prepare me for this. But again, these are like real life stories about plowing snow. And I just want to make sure that if you guys are like, dude, I'm going to go plow snow this year. Awesome. I will help you do it. We will help you do it right. You got great contracts with Bedell. You got great training resources available for us. We're going to get Troy on the podcast. We're going to get Corey Ballard. Some of you guys that also plow snow, you can make a lot of money. There's nights where I go out and I make $3-4 grand gross in 8-10 hours.
Yeah.
All the time. Do you clean up doing snow overall?
Oh, if I didn't, I would find something else to invest my time in. I mean, I've done this long enough that if you see me doing something, it's because, I'm generally going to make money at it. You learn as an investor, you're not going to make money 100% of the time. And so that's why, you've heard me groan on this podcast about spending money on trucks, but it's all inevitable money that was going to get spent. If I had rental houses, eventually the water heater breaks or
the tenant destroys it.
Yeah, or the roof needs, there's CapEx in a house, right? Capital expenditures that you're anticipating. You got to do the same thing with your business, but it doesn't mean that it's not frustrating, especially when you're in an of the essence business and the work doesn't wait for you. You need the reliable equipment. You got to go. And if you do, and you're very reliable, you can really clean up on it. But it's you got to go through sometimes some trials and tribulations to get there. And it's good to know what you're getting into because it's not just a happy Wednesday afternoon, a sunny 75 degrees,
get a tan.
Yeah, cutting the lawn. Stopping with a nice water break. Mrs. Jones brings you a water. You're lucky if Mrs. Jones is awake at 4 a.m. and was bringing you a cup of coffee. Then you're kind of wondering why Mrs. Jones is awake.
Oh, I've had that. Like customers are up at 5 a.m. like waiting for you. I'm like,
bring me like a granola bar, and you're like, this guy's awesome. Why is he awake at 2:30 in the morning?
No, dude. I mean, people are weird, bro. You get to see a whole different side of people at night because they're weird, and you're like, why are you up at 5 a.m.?
People normalize during the day, but you get to see like
the real them.
Yeah. I mean, you'll see like the. Have you ever seen a snow high speed chase?
Like at night?
Yeah.
like cops rob or something? No. I mean,
you see some cars and like cop cars and everyone's spinning out and they're trying to go and you're just plowing and you're like, oh, someone's having a rough night.
No. I mean,
you see some fun stuff, man.
It's a whole nother world at night between 10 p.m. and it's like 5 a.m. Like the freaks come out at night. It's a whole different world out there. People in the ditch, stoplight. I'm just kidding about this next part, but like stoplights are optional. Stop signs are optional. I've seen all of it for a lot of. I'm not saying I do that, but I've seen plow truck guys going 70 miles an hour on 40 mile an hour roads. I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, we don't endorse that.
No, of course not. Safety first. But it's a different world, and it's
like a little army.
It's cool. It's a cool. All right. So after talking all these bad things about it, like there are really cool things. Like as I've been working and it's been hot. Like today was beautiful, but the past month has been very warm here.
Yeah.
And I'm at the point in my business where I'm thinking about what the things that we're going to do this winter with snow, and like the thought of like, you know what, like. It's a different schedule, like, it's kind of nice, like, you just got the whole parking lot to yourself, no one's gonna bother you. There are some very fun, I don't know if fun's the right word, there are some good aspects to that type of work and that type of I think part of it is if you price things correctly, you realize that not everyone is going to make the sacrifices you're going to make, and if you can position yourself correctly, that's what allows people to, I think, really clean up, is them to understand their value and be able to convey that value to the customer, the clientele, and have them perceive that value and buy in and be able to pay. And that's kind of, if you've listened all the way through this, that's maybe kind of the secret sauce to whether you want to be the snowblower guy or the snow plow guy, and especially if you want to be making those investments into a plow and a truck. That's really what your end goal has to be. That's why you see me still in the business, because I know that there's the money to be made, or you see Brian, who's made it a few years into the business here, and he still wants to do it because there's money to be made, but it's because he slowed down before he sped up, and now he's able to reap the benefits of that.
Well, last thing I'll say is I do like reaping the benefits. I'll tell you guys straight up. We
go to work to make money, dude.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I make good money plowing snow. I mean, I'm not in the compare game with anybody else, but I remember sending you a screenshot of Yard Book. What was this? Maybe end of February this year?
When we actually finally had like a good week or two of winter, and there was like actually like some plows and salts to bill out for.
Yeah, we had like, what, 5 or 6 runs? Maybe.
Something like that, yeah. It was like every other day.
It was like every other day for like 10 days. And then Bedell has taught me to do 2-week invoicing. We talk about tons of these practical tips in my training program.
Yep.
Bedell has encouraged me to do 2-week invoicing for snow because those tabs can get high. So it was like mid-February and I'm billing out. And I think we had like one event in January that might have got factored into this, maybe. But long story short, it was like 17 or 18 grand that we had billed out at that 2-week invoice from like that 2-week window. And maybe we had like one carryover invoice from like January. But you're like, hey, dude, is that like from like January 1 or it was like last week or so? I go, well, it's kind of the same because we didn't have anything in January.
Right.
But you're like, dude, post up. Like, that's not bad, bro. I go, yeah, you think so? You go, that's not bad at all. And I was like, I felt really confident about it. But again, we're going out making 2, 3, 4 grand a night, right? I'm like, it's just me and labor in my truck. Like,
and as you should, because you bought a $60,000 truck and a $10,000 plow and the $1,500 tires and the insurance, and you're willing to get up and you're reliable and you're not going to break your client's stuff. And if there is an accident, you're going to be accountable for it. And so on. Like, there's all the things that go into it.
Yeah. I thought that was a pretty good 2, 3, 4, 6 week, grossing revenue dollar for me. For one guy, one truck, one plow. And you were like, not bad, dude. And I go, I know. And I was just thankful. So I was excited. Thankfully, we had that because we didn't have anything else come in through March and April this year, remember?
Yep.
So
that was, we didn't know it, but that was kind of like our last good financial hurrah for 8 weeks.
Dude, if I didn't have that, the lawn care business, we wouldn't have went out of business or anything like that. But we still did burn through a lot of cash in March and April because we have overhead.
We're out there buying parts for the season, not realizing that the season's a lot farther away than we anticipate it being.
Well, I put I still pay myself a payroll, and then I put Rob on payroll in like late March, April, just to bring him back, but we got delayed. But I was like, well, he's not working, and so I hooked him up. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if we didn't have the pricing we did, the business model we did, the approach we took to running a snow business profitably and successfully. And so, I mean, my last thought is, I just say thank you to all the help that you've put into me to get started in the industry.
Oh, you're welcome, dude.
I mean, for real, like
I said, though, you did all the work and you took the initiative to ask the question, right?
Sure. Well, I think I had about 10 questions per notepad on my phone. Remember? And I just turned the phone around. I'm like, hey, I got to ask a couple questions. You're like, well, how much time you got? I go, until the restaurant closes down. You're like, all right, let's get into it. And I kept bringing appetizers and drinks, remember?
Yep.
And so we had
a couple, like, you spent probably 6 hours just picking my brain
on everything.
Yeah. Before you spent a dime on anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, think of, a couple dinners. That's more expensive than you sell the training program for, right?
Or a coaching call. I mean, if you buy a snow program, buy a coaching call, and dude, I would love to talk you through the pricing or how you're going to approach contracts or per push or per that, prepays or all this kind of stuff,
because it's a very individualized business. Like I can't think of anything in my business that I get to set up like as much the way that I want it to operate in my company. Like we were talking about the cash flow part of things. You really get to customize what you want. Like, you have some different idiosyncrasies in how you do residential work versus I do.
Yep.
But it's not good, bad, or indifferent. It's just like your clients are expecting X and you deliver on X.
Yep.
So you win. My clients are expecting Y and I deliver on Y and I win.
Yep.
And if we did the opposite, we might not have have happy clients.
Sure.
So there is a lot of fine tuning with it. And if you don't have someone that's a soundboard, give Brian a jingle here. And that's
a great point.
The amount of time that you spend on the front end will be very reflective of the back end. A buddy of mine who does a lot of snow, he's always like, luck favors the prepared. He says it all winter long. Like literally every conversation is like, luck favors the prepared. Love you, bro.
Well, and by the way, great point. Like I approached my business different than how you approached your snow business. Yeah. But I was able to soundboard it off of you and say, it wasn't like, but it was like, I know you're doing this. Here's what I want to do. Do you think this would sail? And you go, let's try it. And I did. And it's been working out for me. And again, it's a little nuance. It's a little different. Just our pricing structure, how we do some stuff with per push or per prepay.
But it's because we have different needs in our businesses, right? So I'm structuring what I'm doing to fulfill my needs, and you're structuring what you're doing to fulfill the needs of your business. And so it's real individualized once you get into it, but you got to get out there and start asking the questions and putting out the feelers and figuring out what is the opportunity that you can cut out for yourself to actually truly be profitable.
Yes.
Because if there's one last thing I think we should end on in case people don't listen to part twos or they happen to miss the other sage advice that I know Corey has to offer from all his time in doing this, and I 100% know Troy does because he's been a big mentor and blessing to me, is all this COVID nonsense and blah, blah, blah aside, businesses are running tight right now. I've had some very sobering conversations in the past week with large snow contracts of mine. There may not be large snow contracts of mine this winter. So if you guys are making this investment and you're listening to this in the crazy COVID year of 2020, hopefully you're listening to it in the future and things are better. Give us a thumbs up from the future. But things, we don't control any of that. We just got to deal with how society's perceiving things, the current economic situation, election year, blah, blah, blah. And
variables, dude,
if you want to get into this business, that's great. But if there's like one thing that trumps every single thing we've said in the past hour and a half is like, if you don't get paid for what you're doing this winter, you'd be better off sitting at home. So that's why contracts are important. That's why positioning yourself's important. That's why putting the feelers out and finding out from people in your market what are good ideas, what are bad ideas are. Like, if there's ever a year that I can see guys like falling on the knife and not realizing it's buried under the 10 inches of snow, it could be this year, because I already see some guys doing stuff in the lawn season and burying themselves, and I'm shaking my head going, it's not going to get better this winter. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I am, but we're in for a little bit of an interesting ride, I think, in most parts of the country, and that's without even looking at the snow forecast and how much you're going to get. So there's one thing that I think overarches all this that we should close it down with is like, you've got to vet your clients. You've got to figure out if you're going to get paid or not. And that's why you see Corey and Troy and myself and now Brian doing this year after year after year, because we have clients that actually pay us to do the work. We're not doing this in vanity. So 2020, who cares what you think about it? Who cares whether you're wearing a mask or not? You need your clients to pay you.
Where can people find you?
Bedell Management on Instagram, Debt Free Landscaper on Instagram, debtfreelandscaper.com. And
are you available if somebody wants to reach out, DM you, say hey?
Absolutely. I love it when you guys do. I've made so many fun relationships with that, and some of them even turned into phone calls. And Brian and I are here because we want to be helpful resources to you guys. So if you've heard something today that inspires an additional question, or you kind of done this and you're not sure you want to keep doing it, or you really want to take it to the next level, reach out. Spend that hour or half hour or 3 seconds to take a DM, or whatever it is. We're happy to help.
I love it, man. Well, again, at Bedell, Bedell.
That's right, buddy.
2 L's, MGMT, on Instagram, Debt Free Landscaper. If you guys enjoyed this episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast, do me a big solid. Screenshot it, post it up on your stories, tag both of us.
Yeah, I love it when people do that.
Let Bedell know that he did a good job. Tell him that you appreciate him sharing his horror stories of his truck breaking down. You have way more stories than that. I mean,
oh man, that's the tip of the iceberg. Those are the ones that like you know about and you've like kind of
last couple of years.
Yeah,
last couple of years. Well, we're gonna have to do a part 2. Can we get you back on sometime? Maybe through September, October. You want to do another part 2?
Oh sure, yeah. If people are willing to listen to more horror stories, yeah, we can do that. We can talk about salt.
I would say salting would be a good one.
Yep. Yeah, whatever. There's a lot of things that you can dive deep on in this industry, and a lot of equipment that's come out that's made us more efficient. So yeah, there's endless episodes you can do on this.
Well, we're gonna hold you to it. We'll recharge and get you back over in like another month or if not sooner. I see you a couple of times a month anyway. It's great having you as a subcontractor as well. So thank you for all the partnership as well.
Hey, my pleasure. Yeah. I would say we make a really, really good team when it comes to like staying in our lane and being able to kind of like pass the ball back and forth. Yeah. And I've really enjoyed the partnership as well.
I like it, man. So Bedell Management, debt-free landscaper, and then launchpreneuracademy.com if you guys want to check out that snow program. I think promo code podcast saves 10% on all episodes or all training programs. Look, guys, long story short, in that module or in that training program, there's 5 modules. One's like a pricing training course. One is how to do residential driveways. One's how to do commercial parking lots. One's how to shop for equipment. There's about 3 or 4 hours of content in there alone. I think the pricing video alone is like an hour, about 45 minutes to an hour. So I just give away the farm. Like, I do YouTubes. It's like, doopy-doo, hey, it's Brian's Law Maintenance, and we have fun. But on the training programs, it's straight meat. It's straight fire. So I'm not there to waste your guys' time or try to do a song and dance or try to convince you to subscribe. I'm like, no, get your notepad out, get your notebook out. We're going to take notes. We're going to learn this thing. And I want to get you guys up to speed as fast as you can.
Yeah, and you can watch it over and over and over again. And yeah, that's the core that, man, I would be so less gray if I had something like that.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. I took probably 10 hours of meetings and dinners with you, distilled that. I took info from everywhere else, Stanley Dirt Monkey.
But you vetted the info. You went out and worked with it for a year or two and found out like what actually works, because you had the perspective that I didn't have. I mean, I think I remember saying to you like, oh man, this brings back a lot of memories, because at that point I had just like done it for so long.
Right.
All these things I'm thinking of are like givens, and you're like trying to get into it. And so you, like you said, you distilled it, you vetted all the information, and you actually have applied it, and you know that it works, and that's why you're willing to share.
Yep.
Much like other people have in this industry. When we find something that works, whether it's Corey Ballard with Ballard Equipment or Troy with this hot pink de-icer. Sure. We found things that work in our industry, and we want to share and bring the whole industry up.
I love it, man. And that's the thing with snow. We want to see you guys win. Long story short, we want to see you guys win. Bedell hit the nail on the head. There's 100 variables to this part of the business, and not just get a mower, cut grass every Tuesday for 26 weeks straight. That's not snow. Snow is an entirely, now my business, I have one business that does lawn care and one business that does the snow. It's the same business, but they're entirely different businesses within the industry.
Yep.
And that's the thing I want to really communicate on this podcast, is that just because you do lawn care and you make money with it, or you believe you're successful with it, kudos to you. But don't take that overconfidence or arrogance or ignorance into the snow business. I don't want to have any phone calls, texts, or emails, or, hey, did you hear about this guy? Because we have personal friends that have got smoked doing snow, and caused a lot of heartache, headache, set them back 36 to 48 months. We don't want to see that happen to you guys. Not that we have it all figured out by any means, but we can definitely steer you clear of some of the larger landmines that are out there.
Yeah, we can share from our own experiences, and hopefully, you guys don't have to limp a truck home at 2 in the morning. I mean, you probably will, but hopefully you don't have to.
Well, they know not to plow in front of a pole barn down a 15-degree grade driveway and then take the truck off the side of a cliff. But that's where I'll end it. So boop, 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 with the tree. So go back and listen to like episode. It's probably like mid 70s, early 80s with my 2 worst days in business. That was That was my 2 worst days still. I mean, I have a good memory. Nothing.
There's an episode that we hope we don't have to have like a part 2 on because you've had some really crappy days and have more stories to share.
Yeah. That's a
At least not for another couple of years.
Hopefully never, but of course something's going to creep up. But Bedell, for real, thank you so much for coming over, spending almost 2 hours here this evening, hanging out with me. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Guys, support him. Check out debtfreelandscaper.com. For real, some of the best resources that I know are in the industry for the lawn and landscaping, and then also snow. I use his products. I use his contracts. They're critical for me to be able to do what I'm doing. But in all sincerity, thank you for answering the call, putting these resources out there, and taking time to be on the show today.
Love it, man. Hopefully we help some people.
Awesome, guys. Well, hey, we're going to sign it off here. We're going to send it back to Marty, Mr. Producer. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you so much for all of you guys lately that have been leaving the ratings and reviews. They do go a long way. Give us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. Post up on Instagram. If this stuff helped you guys out, share it with a lawn bro. Share it with a snow bro. Is that a new thing we can say?
Yeah, I think so.
Share it with a snow bro, man. So what does Paul Jameson say? Plow that snow and make that dough.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, guys. Well, we're over now. We'll send it back to Mr. Producer. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Fullerton Unfiltered. We'll catch up with you guys on the next one.
Big show today. I loved it. By the way, episode number 72 is the one where Brian shares his 2 worst days in business. If you have some spare time, check that out and feel free to laugh along. I know I did. Hey, big news coming to the Whole Ball of Wax program in October. Brian's got 6 or 7 brand new resources that will be available. Definitely a game changer for anyone growing a successful lawn and landscaping business. Now, that bundle that we call the Whole Ball of Wax, currently $4.99. That's about a 20% savings compared to buying all the programs and modules a la carte. Here's the catch, though. By October the 1st, that price is going to jump somewhere between almost $800 to $1,000. But if you purchase the bundle now, or if you've already purchased it in the past, you'll be grandfathered in, as you'll be getting free lifetime updates, upgrades, and access to anything new that Brian adds there at lawntrepreneur.academy.com. Guys, you don't want to miss out on this opportunity. You will be kicking yourself come October, and so don't wait. Don't wait for these things to come out individually. Get them now. And tell somebody about the show. And seriously, I'm serious. Consider hypercharging your business by purchasing the Whole Ball of Wax today.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.